Starting. This hangout on air is live. I think we are finally here. Yeah. Hello, everybody. All right. So I don't know. Can anybody see us? Can anybody hear us? This is the part I hate about live streaming because it says there are no. Oh, there's one viewer. We have one person. Yeah.
Are you there?
Three. We're up to 3 now. I love it. Now we can really get rolling. Woo, we're at 4. Keep them rolling. Woo! So hello, everybody. Welcome once again to our monthly Classy Chicks Vintage Flicks. It has been just that kind of a day. Maybe because we're all like emotionally torn from watching this movie and we're all just a little bit broken now. So thank you guys all so much for showing up. We love you guys coming in. And tonight we are going to be, dual me. That's too much me. All right. Just trying to get it so I can see the comments. And it looks like, Miss Bonnie Bailey is here. Hello. Yolanda is here as well. Mary, Vintage Camper Gal, just popped in at the beginning just to say that she's got to work at 3 a.m. So she won't be joining us, but she says she is here in spirit. So she just wanted to say, hey, everybody, have a great holiday season, and she will catch us all in January. Yolanda is saying we all are looking pretty. You guys are looking, your text is so cute. I bet you guys all look cute too. And the gorgeous women joining me tonight to talk about the probably the romance classic is An Affair to Remember, which actually is my first time viewing it. I feel like I've seen it because I feel like popular culture has kind of given everything away. But here with me today is I'm gonna pass it on to Heather from How to Be Fancy.
Hey guys!
And JL from Modern Retro Gal.
Hello!
And we've got Denise Marie is here. She says, Mary, gorgeous gals. Mary to you as well. So I was the researcher for this month. I thought, Brianna says hello from California. Hello, Brianna. I thought there was going to be some crazy good gossip from this movie because it's about an affair. I thought the Legion of Decency would be all over it, which I do think they left their stamp in it because there's a couple moments. But a few interesting little tidbits about An Affair to Remember. The one we watched was from 1957 because this has had a few remakes. In fact, An Affair to Remember is a remake of a movie called Love Affair, which was released in 1939, and it was a success. It did very, very well in the box office. And what's interesting about this remake is that the guy who directed it, Leo McCarey, directed the first one too. And he was just like, I guess it's time to remake the same movie I made before. And this is almost a scene-by-scene remake. They really did not change anything. I think McCarey got into a little trouble. I should have wrote this down, but I didn't. He was a very successful director of screwball comedies pre-World War II. After World War II, he made a movie that some thought had a very communist thread in it. My Son John, I believe it was called, and he kind of fell in popularity. So this movie was his attempt to get back into popularity, and it did very, very well at the box office. It was, I had it written down here somewhere. Oh yeah, the movie grossed nearly $4 million, which is 1957 is a lot of money. It was one of the top grossing movies of that year, and it proved to be the last hit for McCarey, who made just 2 more movies before he died in 1969. This will also go on later to be remade in 1994, reverting to the original title of Love Affair, starring Warren Beatty and Annette Bening, who wrote and produced it, and I believe they were married at the time they did that as well. But the film featured Katharine Hepburn in her last screen appearance, portraying the male protagonist's aunt. The aunt would go on to replace the grandma that was in the movie that we just watched. The original 1939 movie starred Irene Dunne and Charles Boyer. There was French people in it. It's probably like Boyer or something. And I'm like, Boyer! Why not add an accent in it?
It sounds right.
It makes everything better. A lot of people believe the success of the 1957 film was due to its theme song, An Affair to Remember, Our Love Affair. And they decided to make Deborah Kerr a singer. She actually was not a singer. She was dubbed by a woman by the name of Marnie Nixon. She was best known for being the singing voices of some of your favorite movies, The King and I, which Deborah Kerr had been in, and Marnie Nixon voiced for her in that as well. And she voiced for Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady. And she also did the voice for Natalie in West Side Story.
What?
Thank you very much. You knew I was drawing a blank. The movie did receive 4 Oscar nominations. It's nominated for the Best Song and Best Cinematography, Best Costume, and Best Score, but it went home empty-handed. It was, I honestly, this movie has really left its mark. As I said at the beginning, I already knew into this movie just from popular culture. In Sleepless in Seattle, the 1993 film, it played a big role. It was partially inspired by the movie, but particularly the ending, the references, there were clips to it, the theme songs from earlier in the film is all used throughout. They even talk about it being like their favorite movie during that. One of my favorite references to this movie is from 30 Rock. I don't know if you guys watch that. One of my favorite sitcoms ever. Because I am Liz Lemon. I think every woman has a little Liz Lemon in her. But apparently Tracy Jordan on 30 Rock claimed to have starred in a remake of it called A Affair to... Sorry. I just love this show so much.
Tracy Morgan impersonation. It's bad.
Love it. Cary Grant actually preferred the earlier movie, the 1939 movie Love Affair, to his own version. But he said that over the years, at watching the end of Affair to Remember made even him cry. Mm-hmm. Which, even though she was dabbing at his face in the film, I don't remember seeing tears. I find this funny. I don't know if anybody has watched that movie, The Women He Dressed. It was believed that Cary Grant had an affair with, oh God, what was his name?
Oh, shoot. I just watched that too. Mm-hmm.
Internet. Ori Kelly. Mm-hmm. Being that Ori Kelly was a fashion designer, I think it is very, very funny that in one of the things that Cary Grant, being a stickler for details, was he really took offense to the fact that on the costumes of the actors playing the ship's stewards, the buttons were different from those that the stewards wore on the real Queen Mary. And the filmmakers tried to just it's no big deal. They're buttons, right? They're like, nobody's going to notice the difference. But he pretty much was like, yes, but I will know. They ended up changing the buttons, which I think is just hysterical. And one of the other things, I didn't find a lot of little details about Deborah Kerr, but Kerr? Curve. We'll go with curve. That Cary Grant, they notice he had, and you can kind of see it in some of the scenes, they notice he had like a bump on his forehead. Turned out to be a benign tumor. His wife at the time had him put under hypnosis, and they removed it during the filming. So he was back within a couple days. So, yeah. I feel like I just rattled those off. Before we get to everybody, what you guys thought of the movie. Oh, okay. This is, I'm going to, how do you kick people out? Oh, remove. Right, okay. Yeah, somebody asked a very inappropriate question in the comments, and I will tell you girls later if you didn't see it.
I can't see the comments, so I'm out.
Don't worry. But put it this way, it was from XX Girly Girl 69XX.
Oh.
Wanted
to tonight.
That girly girl, right? Lynn says hello from Tampa. May Lynn is also here. And she's, again, apparently we are all looking real good tonight. Thanks, guys. Cecilia, Celiac Kitten's here. And I know, I almost did it to her again, right? Yolanda's going on about her dresses. And, oh, girl, I want her entire wardrobe. Angie's like, what a classy broad that XX Girly Girl 69 is. Yeah, I know, right? She shouldn't be in classy chicks.
I know.
That was not a classy question. Where's the League of Decency when you need her? Emily?
Got some fleas we need to send off.
And this thing, and I am going to start. You know what, Jill? You're looking so cute tonight with your lipstick looking so fine. I'm gonna pick on you first. And what did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Have you seen it before? Did you like it?
Yes. So interestingly enough, I've seen it quite a few times. However, apparently I've never seen it from the beginning. I'd always watched it on like TCM, and so I've always hit it like at the exact same spot, like from what I thought was the beginning of the movie, which is right before their cruise is over, like when they're pretty much like getting ready to dock, and they like meet up one last time before they're gonna exit the boat. So I kind of always had like thought that's where the movie started. So this is actually the first time that I saw it from the beginning, to where like she meets him and she's like disinterested, and he's really just kind of like this socialite jerk in the beginning of the movie. And that's sort of where I thought like there's this whole like section of the movie like I didn't even know existed until today. So it gave me a lot of backstory that sort of makes sense now.
She's like, it's all clear now.
Give a whole perspective to the movie, let me tell you. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed sort of like watching it. I feel like I've dated a lot of guys like him in the past. That sort of like conceited, attractive, every girl wants to be with him kind of guy. So I was like, oh, I know you. But I really enjoyed it. I think, you know, when you kind of think back at classic movies for like one of like the best like romance stories, it's just really good from beginning to end. I feel like this is sort of the movie like everybody thinks of. If you want just like a really good like sappy love story, like this is that movie. So I did really enjoy it. I loved Deborah Kerr's dresses. In fact, the dress that she wears in the beginning that's like cream and like orange, I saw that dress, somebody had not that exact one. I think it was yellow and green instead of yellow and orange, but it was that exact same dress for sale. And I was like, so, but I was like, when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, I've seen that dress for sale. So they're still floating out there if anybody really wants to hunt one down. But I think like one of my favorite parts of the movie is that song that the kids are singing, that kids choir. That song just cracks me up every single time I see this movie. And I love it because even though it's kind of that sappy love story, it really doesn't like tug your heart until like that very last scene when they're like dabbing his tears and everything's okay. You just know they live happily ever after. So I like it. I enjoy it.
All right, we're gonna move on to Heather.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I have seen this movie now 3 times in the span of about 3 months. So, well, I had watched it, and then I watched the Orly Kelly documentary, and so then I was like, oh, I want to go back and watch it again because Cary Grant, and so I went back and watched it, and then of course I watched it again today. I think it's kind of like 2 movies in one, almost, where you have like the whole cruise section. It's the opposite of jail. I remember the cruise section, and then I forget the whole end section like exists, and so I'm always like, oh yeah, we still have to like go through all of this before we get to the end. That same dress, I'll say, was I really the beginning dress, the cream orange, that dress that Deborah Kerr wears. I remember watching this back, I guess it would have been in the summertime, and that's when I wanted to, when we were going to go to Dapper Day, I wanted to use that dress as like an R2D, or not a BB-8, like Dapper Day, like Disney bounding dress, because I was like, that's perfect. It's like totally a BB-8, like Dapper Day kind of dress. And so that kind of got me started on this whole journey to find a dress like that, which I did not. I found some similar things, but I am not made of money. And so one day it will happen. Also,
yeah, but if you're technically made of money, then everybody's going to be taking money off of you, and then you're going to cease to exist because you will have been removed all the money, and you will no longer be Heather.
I would no longer exist if that were the case, so it's a good thing. However, I still want that dress. So that's kind of that whole, like, I love the wardrobe, I think, that she wears. For me, it's one of the most iconic as far as things that when I think vintage, like iconic classic wardrobe, this is definitely one of those films that I always think back to a few of the different pieces, even some of the like secondary cast and even like extras. There's a few dresses that I think a few of them wear that are just beautiful, and I want all of them. And that she wears like this white coat and white scarf and white gloves at one point, and it's just everything that I could ever, I don't know, it makes me want to go on a cruise, and I don't even ever have a desire to do that. So I love that element of the movie. I actually love the dialogue and the writing of the film. I think it's really smartly done. And I think that's something that you don't see a lot in classic film, is a lot of sarcasm. And I think that this movie is full of, between Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr, I think there's so much dialogue and banter back and forth that even though he is kind of a jerk, love the fact that they can play off of each other like that. And it's so smooth and natural, and it makes sense. As I know, her fiance, as you get toward the end and kind of meet him, he's a great guy. Like, he's, boy next door, great guy. She should be happy with him, but I can totally see the draw of having someone who you can intellectually relate to. So I love, that's my favorite part. I also love he's always questioning why she thinks that being beautiful or being a wife is the only thing that she can be. And I think there's a few instances where he kind of questions her on, oh, so that's all you know, that's why you went to school, is to be a wife, right? You know, and he's just questioning her along the way. And I think that's really a fresh perspective for a classic film. There's a few things that are clearly classic film, but I think that it was pretty progressive in the writing of it, and I love that part. I have to say, I kind of get lost toward the end. After she's supposed to go to the Empire State Building, I kind of like zone out during that point. I think it's a little long at that moment when you have the kids and the choir, and to me it starts to feel, it waters down the story between the two of them for me. That may not be everyone. I know, JL, you like the kids' songs. I don't like the kids' songs. I mean, maybe in a different movie, but not. I just don't enjoy them as much in this film. But yeah, overall, I'd say this is definitely one of my favorite films, and because it's got a few different aspects that I just really, really like. Okay.
I like it. Good points. Good points. Angie said, or Miss Bonnie Bailey, she says, Heather, it gives new meaning to shake your money maker if you're made of money. Possibly made it, as well as Vampira.
Hi.
Vampira. And Angela says it is her favorite movie of all time. She used to watch it every Saturday after cleaning the house prior to the hubby and kids being around. And she just absolutely loves how they finish each other's thoughts. And she also thinks that they really, really challenged each other. So she completely agreed with you on that.
What movie?
I can see you, girl.
Tell me.
So, this was my first time watching it. Like I said, I pretty much knew the ending, the whole Empire State thing. I was not expecting to like this movie as much as I did, though. I thought it was going to be that. I have a really hard time with those movies where the guy's the Casanova, and then he meets a girl that just melts his heart, and it just seems so unreal to me most of the time in movies. In reality, and I know movies and reality, they are two separate things for that very reason, but it really, really drives me insane, and I usually have a lot of problems with the male characters of being too suave and too perfect, and that woman who just fixes everything, because women do that. You know, we think that we can find somebody who's broken, we fix them, and then they will be this great person. But we're all people, and we're all super broken, and you have to take us like we are. So I went into this being like, okay, I'm not really going to dig the Cary Grant figure. Oh my God, so wrong. So wrong. I fell in love with both of their characters. And I think it goes back to what Heather said with the writing. The writing was so incredibly good. I just loved their interaction. And it wasn't like she changed him. She just made him realize something about himself. She wasn't trying to actively change him to be a better person. They were just questioning each other. And like you both said, Angela and Heather, quite challenging each other. And I love that part of them. And my favorite part of the movie is that whole section of them on the boat. I love when they're sitting at dinner and they're just ridiculous with their backs to each other and everybody's looking at them and laughing. I just love every scene that they do together. And then after my favorite thing too is when the boat is docking and they're standing there and you can see them looking at each other because they're putting on a show for their significant others, and you can see their wheels turning like, is this real or is this real? And then they kind of look at each other to be like, no, we're good. And then they look at the other one like, and it was just like all those brief little moments that I thought were so beautifully done. And then when they separated off the boat, I was like, meh. You know, I love, though, how when he was on top of the Empire State Building, you could hear the sirens for them coming to get her. So you knew, like, what was happening at that time. I thought that was really well done. And I found the kids' song to be fabulously creepy.
Me too. I can't watch it though.
I mean, I legit think they should play it in like a horror movie or something, so Heather would never see it. But yeah, I felt like they could have condensed those a little bit. I do think they needed to see each other at the movie theater because I think that was their catalyst. I do think you need to know what they decided to do after they didn't meet. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just because we missed them being together so much that that period really seemed to drag on for us. And I don't know. I had a hard time. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't know what the passage of time was. Does anybody know? Like how long
From the time she
gets hit by a car and he walks into her apartment?
I feel like he kind of touches on it. Well, see, that's the hard part because is it still winter?
See, I don't know if it's been a whole, because it was 6 months, and then maybe it was another 6 months because I felt like it was clearly winter again because they were singing Christmas songs. So I'm wondering if it was another.
I'll be right back.
So how long was it? Okay, so because it was raining when they were supposed to meet. So what 6 months was that? Was that Christmas?
Would that have been spring? Wintry when they left the boat, it looked like.
Because that's what I was trying to figure out. Because
then maybe it was spring. Because then it would have been Christmas again.
I felt like he touched on it at the end when he said, "So here we are 6 months later." Or
maybe.
I felt like he said something about being like another 6 months since
a time frame.
At the
I don't know.
end. Yeah, it was a long movie. It was only almost 3 hours, so I do feel like they could have shaved like a good off of that somewhere.
Yeah.
In the
maybe the appropriation of the children dancing. I don't know.
I know.
It's like, really uncomfortable for me.
That's what I was like, wait, I know I've watched this and it was not 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I was like, oh, the whole section on the boat I've never seen before.
Never seen that part. And that's like the best part of the whole movie. Or at least like the most visually like pretty, like the prettiest, most connecting part.
Yeah, I did enjoy that it was almost like they didn't like each other at first. They both kind of like, she kind of knew him and how he was, and he was like, oh, it's just another woman who just wants to be a wife. So they didn't like each other at first, but they still sort of ended up always in the same place. So it was sort of like forced together on this boat, and they had to get to know each other.
I liked it.
Hey, Jennifer, we filled as much time as we can.
Like, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
okay, so I come back, right? And the first thing I do is look at you, and then I look over at them, and Yolanda's like, we got another one! We got another one in here. And she's like, angry face. And it literally was like little swastikas, and like,
what the heck?
it was not, put it this way, it was not Hail Hydra.
The internet is supposed to be a safe place, y'all.
I know, right? It's our safe place. Let's see. Yolanda says, she's watching the movie, I think, right now. She's on the scene where they're grandmothers, and she's in the little chapel praying. It's a great scene.
I love that whole the house and the grandmother and like that. I love that, and I thought in memory, like I always think, oh, I don't think I can skip through this part, and then today I was like, oh no, but I really like this part. And her dress there.
I almost wish that they had spent more time with them like talking, because I feel like there was so much depth behind like her past. I mean, she touches on it a little bit. Obviously, she grew up poor, and there was a lot of kids in the house, and I'm not entirely sure what his past was. So I don't know. I just felt like there was a richness there that could have been explored a little bit more. And I would have just loved to see more scenes like that with his grandma. Because when the ship's horn started blowing, I was like, no, they gotta go.
Leave her. I know.
Grandma.
I feel like it was a great point in the movie because I felt like that was really kind of the turning point where they began to realize that they didn't want the journey to be over because that meant that they could go their separate ways. So I felt like that was a really great point for that to happen, like at his grandmother's house. And she was the one who really knew him best. She knew him growing up. She knew, you know, he's a little maybe on the eccentric, I can't say that word, eccentric side, because he's an artist and you would never have thought that he was an artist. Because
I feel like that's the point where she got to know like the real person behind the celebrity of him. So she got to like really meet him almost at that in those scenes is where she kind of got to meet the real him.
Mm-hmm.
Going back into the comments, JP Marino says the kid with the creepy deep voice. Oh
I just they can incorporate weird kids into them. Like just
You know what kid? I loved the kid on the staircase.
yeah.
The kid on the staircase.
Oh yeah.
I love when
When he's like, they're always talking about you.
Always make me leave the room.
I love that kid.
Angela says the period is July to December. So that's about 6 months. Voodoo Doll is here. And she is rewatching the opening soon. Oh my goodness, her hair. I could surf on those waves. Yeah, she has some pretty good hair. A lot of talking about the style. Oh, and who was it? Yolanda says the dress with the tiny dots from when they were at the grandmother's. Oh, that was perfection. It actually is why I chose this dress to wear tonight because it has that like you know, the double feel. So yeah. It's not her dress.
He had on with
I tried.
that on, but I was like, oh, I want those little heels. I need those.
Mm-hmm. Angela says they were to meet in June, July at the Empire State Building, then meet again at the end, and then met again at the end of December, so about a year since they originally met on the ship.
That's what I
Voodoo Doll says, I wish more men would dress like him. Bam, the sweatpants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I went to a place. It was a nice place. There were no sweatpants there. They're in the sitting room now, and Yolanda wants all the furniture. She wants the clothes and the furniture, and I would agree with this.
Mm-hmm.
H3H3 Productions. Is that your first or last name? I love it. But he's like, don't these trolls have anything better to do? I don't know what about today is bringing them out. And JP Marino says the grandmother make hate whittles. Grumpy face JP.
I love that we can't see the comments, and so it's like a total guessing game over here.
I know, because it could be me. The grandmother make hate whittles. JP, man, I don't know. They're either going to leave that a mystery or explain it. Because now I have this image of the grandmother in my head, like whittling some like hate dolls or something. Hate whittles. And it's got a cute grumpy face after it. Denise says she's new here. Are these inappropriate comments? No, I don't know. It's weird today.
This is
H3H3 says they probably have no lives. Probably.
I would agree.
Oh, Angela to the rescue. She says JP probably means that she said she hates boat whistles. Because we were talking about the boat whistles. Yes, that makes perfect sense. Much more sense than making the grandmother whittle.
Oh my god. How?
Yolanda's over there taking pictures of the dresses and hair on her phone. Does anybody else do that? You are not alone. I have done that with outfits as well. I'm trying to think where we were on things. Okay. I am not going to ask you the hated question.
Fine.
The dreaded question. But what I am going to ask you, did somebody prepare this time? What I am going to ask you, what was the monument in the movie? The Empire State Building? Is that what you're thinking of? The monument in the movie? Is I want you to recast the lead. It can be a modern recasting. It can be a classic recasting. It could even be a real life recasting of the movie. Who would you put in that movie? And you can even mix generations if you wanted to. Make it timey-wimey. The Rock.
I'm sorry. I know that's not what you meant, but then I just imagined The Rock.
No, I don't know. She might have. Voodoo Doll. Did you mean Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Yeah, well, I've got the giggles.
I'm trying to think who I would. Okay, I'm gonna do. Oh, she did meet him. Recasting. No, the remake was horrible. No, you have to recast it. You have to. In your head, you have to recast it. Yolanda says George Clooney or Leonardo DiCaprio is Cary Grant's character. Voodoo Doll is going with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Who would you put him opposite? That's who I want to know, Voodoo.
Maybe I need to see the pairing there.
Yeah. JP says, warm baiting and Annette betting. Just kidding. Because I love him, I would do, and he probably doesn't even have the acting chops to really make this, but Gerard Butler. Because he did, oh God, what was that movie? JL, reach into my mind. You know that movie where, spoiler alert, he dies and he leaves his wife all those little notes?
Oh, yeah.
I freaking love that movie, and I can't think of it right now.
Hold on.
So I would cast him, but
Was that right? No, that's not right. I can't think of it.
but I would cast him against Claudette Colbert. I'm doing this. I'm wibbly wobbling the timelines. P.S. I love you.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
I said that, but then I was like, wait, was that even him?
And Voodoo Doll says she would recast it with her opposite Dwayne The Rock Johnson because
I like have so much love for this right now.
I like it. We'd watch it.
Yeah, I'm there for it.
Yolanda says Julia Roberts. So George Clooney, Leonardo, maybe as the lead, Julia as the female. I do love Julia Roberts. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
She said also Nicole Kidman. She did a wonderful Grace Kelly. Okay. I really do not like Nicole Kidman. Ever since she did that Irish movie with Tom Cruise, I haven't liked her. No. Yeah. That was the one. Something about that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, since I picked on JL last time, Yes, Heather.
I'm ready.
Oh, she's volunteering.
Okay, so I'm going with Benedict Cumberbatch
Yes.
and Ingrid Bergman.
Yes, that's so much better than mine.
That's
Oh my God, you're brilliant.
That's who I'm going with.
Sorry, I got really excited about that.
I'm glad because it was like a little competition for me as well.
Mhm. All right, girl. What you got, JL?
Okay, so I'm going Ryan Gosling Jr. and Natalie Wood.
Yes. They're both so angsty.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like marrying the Notebook with what is it? The grass is always greener.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! That movie.
It's good. Good ones.
I can't even. And especially watching movies like that as a teenager. You know what I mean? When you're all angsty to begin with.
You're already feeling all that.
Oh yeah, it was like Natalie Wood and James Dean were my spirit animals as a teenager. That and John Dillinger, but no, well, he wasn't my spirit animal. He's my boyfriend. My dear Alice. Well, hello, my dear Alice. I did not know you were here, my friend. It says Evan, Rachel Wood, and George Clooney. Maybe make George Clooney closer to Evan
Like
Wood's
match
age.
the age a little more.
Yeah. I can see why people are picking Clooney because it makes sense because Grant was older in the role.
Well, I think we're kind of more mature leads. Because even they talk about it, they talk about how they miss spring, but they don't want to be alone at winter or something like that. Like they mention it even in the film. So it kind of does need to be like a little bit, older, as in my age.
Well, and I feel like George Clooney almost is Nikki Ferrant. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Except for the whole. Well, no, kind of, because
maybe it could just be him and his wife. Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty much.
that's so true. Oh, Emily, the League of Decency has shown up. Where were you, my friend, when
you missed out.
girly XX girly was asking inappropriate questions? We are scarred.
We needed, and you weren't here to protect us.
Yeah.
She gets fleas this time.
Yeah. My dear Alice says Clooney is just one of the last truly charismatic Hollywood actors I can think of.
I think we're in that weird phase where like the younger ones haven't gotten old enough yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the 90s where a lot of those young actors just didn't
Like
last.
the Quarries.
Yeah, like, I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr. is never going to be George Clooney.
No.
Yeah.
So we kind of missed a
Yeah.
segment, I think, of the male like leads.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because JL and I were talking about that not too long ago, how we feel like a lot of the music legends are passing away. Like it was when we were trying to afford Dolly Parton tickets. Because that feeling of like, if you're not going to see some of these greats now, you might not get the opportunity. And who is going to step up and fill those shoes? And maybe that's just a sign of us getting older. I don't know. But I really, really can't see Lil' Kim or Beyonce being, I don't know. Maybe Beyonce. I could get on board with that,
Maybe.
possibly.
Maybe.
Because I do feel like Beyonce brought back one of the dances from the 20s in the Single Ladies video.
Mm-hmm.
Mary says, far and away, the Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise that turned me away from Nicole. Not many actors have his charm nowadays. Yolanda says she hates George Clooney, but he reminds her of a modern-day Cary Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Amber Nelson.
It's that, that kind of silver hair and
Silver Fox.
hair very similar, and he just kind of has like that smart aleck kind of demeanor, and I feel like Cary Grant sort of, at least in the movies, kind of carried himself at. So, you know, I think like his disinterest in having anybody really know that much about his private life, and just sort of, I mean, Cary Grant was settled down and married younger, but he also kind of wife hopped, and so even, you know, but you kind of see that with George Clooney too. You know, there was like girlfriend after girlfriend after girlfriend. So I do see that. I don't see it as much with Leo. I feel like he's sort of like a unicorn over here.
Yeah, he's such a good actor, though. He really is.
He's like, I don't know.
He's too
Unicorn.
baby. He's too baby faced. I don't. It doesn't matter how old he gets. He's still always going to look like Leonardo DiCaprio. If that makes sense.
See, to me, he's always gonna be what's his name and what's eating Gilbert Grape. Like brought back to that character. Like no matter how many Victoria's Secret models you want to date, like you're like this snot-nosed little kid.
That was like the best role ever, though. God, I love that movie.
He was great in
that.
I love that one. The one where he's on the island. I'm so bad. You know what? I think I have like dementia or Alzheimer's or something. I don't remember anything.
Memory games.
I know.
Remember
No, it's the one, you know, where it's like an insane asylum and he goes to it. Shutter Island. Thank you, my dear Alice.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant performance. Blue Lagoon. Oh my God, Blue Lagoon was one of my favorite movies as a teenager too. Oh my God, that was romance.
Oh no.
Oh God, no wonder why I'm still single. Emily was out for a run. She says she's half dead now. She apologizes. Well, okay, Ben.
Next,
your health is important.
Plan better or something.
Ryan Gosling has leading man charisma. Amber thinks she can't think of many others. Celiac Kitten is totally on the Benedict train. I think we're a bunch of Cumberbitches. Yeah. Denise says, we're not getting older. People are just less classier these days. Something is definitely missing. Maybe a sense of modesty. Perhaps. But can you forgive George Clooney for Batman and Robin? I forgot about that. Really, it took me a long time to forget about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the
At least spandex onesie. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Emily
Emily says she completely agrees and just wanted to say the same thing. JL, Leo is always Arnie.
Arnie, yeah.
Always.
Emily says she'll do better to protect us from the trolls next month. Voodoo Doll says these old movies in the tiny waist make me want to give up tacos. Tacos, just get yourself a nice corset. Three of my favorite ladies. Hey Jen, Heather, and JL says R&R Junkie 66. Hi guys. So let's do this. I want to know your absolute favorite part of this movie. Like that iconic part of the movie where you were like, yes, this movie right here. And I'm going to start with, she knows I'm going to pick her. Look at her face. Look at her face. She is literally trying to back her head out of the screen like she can't see me. Like, you know how when you would be in school and you didn't want the teacher to call you, you were like, oh, something really important's over here. I just can't. You're up, JL.
Like the most iconic part of the movie for me.
And you can't pick the Empire State Building.
I know. I think because from with the exception of today, I've always kind of watched it from like that second half of the movie, because from the beginning until today. I would say like that moment when he sort of bursts into her bedroom and he sees the picture in like the reflection of the mirror, and then he realizes that like she's poor and she's disabled, and all this hate and resentment that he's carried for like the past 6 months was all her pride, and like he just doesn't care. Like for me, like that is like the moment in the movie that like makes it last for so long, like in everybody's hearts. Like that's the moment for me.
I do say he played that really well. He really, really did, because you could see it play out on his face. You know, where he was putting everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He like, it was kind of like he hoped that the picture was in her room, but at the same time, he hoped it wasn't, because then it meant that she had been hurt that night, and that all that hate, it, you know, it sort of like brings on that guilt. So when he opens the door and he sees it, he's like relief and anguish and joy, like all at once, like it's all in its face. And I was just like, see, you were so mean to her 5 minutes ago.
See, you see him, like, he's going towards the door, he's starting to leave, and then that conversation starts, and, like, as his realization is dawning, he's moving closer and closer to her, and I was just like, yeah, I love that. That was good. That was good.
Agreed.
Heather, what about you?
I don't know. I mean, I love that part as far as the story between the two of them. I think that's my favorite, probably at least one of my favorite parts. I love that. I love a lot of like his realization again of like her disability. Like it all just kind of starts making sense. Of course, I think side note, disability like is taken in a horrible sense in this film. So sorry about that. But I think it's just portrayed really poorly. But I love that. I love his role in the end of the film. I love that. I think another one of my favorite moments, I think that kind of sucked me into the movie, is when she's walking by with his cigarette case. And they have that whole conversation through, like, at the stairwell, and he's looking through a window and she's on the opposite side. And he's like, you have my cigarette case. And she's like, well, how do I know? And he goes through, like, telling her what the inscription says. And their whole banter there is when I'm like, oh, he's not going to be your typical, like, actor, suave, like, I know everything kind of guy. Like, he has some character to him. And I think there's a little bit of spirit between them in that moment that makes me want to keep watching to see what happens. So I think that's where, like, I initially get, like, this spark and this kind of sucked into the story and, like, really rooting for them. Whereas I don't know if they hadn't had that scene, would I really have been as interested in where it was going to develop, because you kind of can see the wit between the two of them and how it's not going to just be this typical, like, hero heroine kind of, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not coming in to rescue her. She can stick up for herself, and she has just some sarcasm to her that I really like, and you get that in that moment, I think, when she's making fun of his tryst on a yacht. I think I love that part. And she says, and I think even later in the next scene, he asks her for a lighter, and she says, well, can't you light it with the inscription in that case? And I love that. Like, that to me is, like, such an iconic moment in the film for me.
Okay, I swear I'm not stealing this, but mine is that moment she reads the inscription on the inside of the cigarette case, because on so many levels it works. When she was like, and I can't even remember the woman's name. Oh, Gabriella, I think it was. And he was like, oh yeah, that was the name, like 3 nights on the Gabriella. Oh, that was the name of the ship. And I'm like, oh, it is not. You know that's not the ship. He was on her. Oh, you guys are so perverted. I love those little, and that's almost what I miss in movies today, is I love the subtlety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't show me everything, make me pay attention.
Right. Well, there's even a scene in the beginning where he's talking to the man who keeps wanting their autograph, and he's like, would you come play bridge? And he goes, oh, I cheat. It's an addiction. Like, I love, like, just that little, like, oh, this is who I am. I cheat. It's an addiction. Like, you you start building this character through not, like, showing everything, but it's just this little subtle one line. I loved it. I love the writing.
Yeah, it was just so good, because it wasn't that typical, like, Playboy, because every time I was like, don't fall into that trap, it didn't. I mean, he didn't set out to be like, oh, well, I'm going to romance this woman and then I'm going to dump her. And then, like, towards the end, I was like, oh, when they saw each other in the movie theater, I'm like, oh, great. That's it. They're never going to see each other again, And I thought it was going to fall into that trap of pride coming before everything. Like, I'm not going to go see her. I'm not going to go make this right. And because that's what frustrates me a lot in romance novels. And, oh, wait, yeah. Okay, yeah, that I just outed myself. I love cheesy, horrible historical romances.
That's fine. I'm right there with you.
I draw the line at Fabio on the cover.
Yeah.
But there's always that trap of, like, if you just communicated, everything would be fine. And I find it such a trope. And I felt like this movie didn't really fall into those pitfalls, which made me really enjoy it. But I still wish that back end was just a little. Keep it in jails, creepy kids. Angela says, by the way, Bonnie Bailey says, tacos for life, or tacos equal life. Sorry. And Angela says, yes, his realization in the end with the painting. She's totally on board with that. Mary thinks next month's movie should be Crybaby. Who's with me? Or Grease? Guys, you're leaving her out in the cold on that one.
Crybaby.
Celiac Kitten says, poop equals me with a slashy. I think we need JP to
interpreter
translate that for me, because I think it might have been her that translated his. Angela says she's thinking the same thing about the cigarette case. That's when they started right away finishing each other's sentences. Voodoo Doll says, I always love the opening scenes of movies, especially vintage films. The leading lady has to show her spunk in such a short time to hold your attention. So true. And Emily says, yes, those moments when you hit your friend on the arm and say, did you see that? I love when a movie makes me do that. And JP says, I just got it. He was on Gabriella. Angela retracted her message. She loves when they leave things out of the imagination, the kids out of frame, etc. And that's what they did when they first had their, like, real romantic kiss. They went up out of frame. And in my head, I was like, well, there's going to be some. Yeah, she says kiss, not kids. I thought, like, in the notes there would be some reference. I was like, there's going to be an Emily reference. There's going to be a Legion of Decency reference.
Yeah, for that.
In, like, the things. And there was nothing about it. But, I mean, technically, yes, it was an affair as they were with people, but they weren't married at the time. So, and at the end, I will say this. My one big disappointment in this movie is at the end, they didn't lip smack. There was no lip-on-lip action.
Real kiss.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Even Jane Austen gives us kissing.
True. That's true.
So I guess I asked you that, and I know, Heather, you're at, okay, this is going to be our last question before we wrap things up, because we're running behind schedule. Us out over time. Never happens. What am I getting? What was your big disappointment? I already shared mine. What was your disappointment in the film? Like, if you could have taken something out, changed something, what would it have been? Something you haven't mentioned already. Mm. Hmm. Oh, there she goes. She's like, if I don't look at her.
No, I'm thinking.
Okay, I'm going to go with Heather.
Oh, I really don't know. Because I think I've mentioned all my disappointment. I guess the thing that really, and this is such a tiny thing, and it's such a thing, reminiscent of that time frame, is I just really dislike when it's the kids' choir and then the two African American children have to come down and dance. I think that's such a throwback to something that's really unfortunate in our history. And so it just it definitely puts a damper on. I think maybe that's why I don't particularly like that scene, is because it throws back to just some really bad cultural things, especially in Hollywood, concerning African American actors, and it just really bugs me. So I guess that, and on a more serious note, that just really bugs me. So maybe that's why I don't like that scene as much, because I think they're these adorable actors, and why couldn't they have just been singers in the choir?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's it. Yeah, there's so much in vintage films or classic films that you don't want to see removed, because you can't erase history.
Right.
You should be uncomfortable by it.
Yeah, it should make you uncomfortable.
Because I did notice, like, at the beginning, like when Terry was talking about how she had gotten that job singing at that club, and then her boss used to chase her around, and then she'd go, and he was like, well, you didn't ever, and she was like, no, and then they would go home. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, some days it feels like we haven't come that far, or that we're going backwards, or and really the 1957 wasn't that long ago when you really think about it. And it's just a reminder of how we've changed in some ways, and a reminder of why we changed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can see why scenes, especially like that school scene, could make you feel uncomfortable because of that. And I think that's good, and it should. JL, what about you?
Oh, man. I guess maybe for me, I would just like them to have sort of, I feel like his post storyline was much more condensed than hers. So like with what she was doing with the choir and just all of her like recovery, that whole section seemed to sort of felt like it took longer than like his painting. It was just like these little quick blurbs, like I painted this and this got sold and da da da. But then her stuff was kind of more dragged out. Mm-hmm. So I think, yeah, I mean, if they could have just sort of shrunken that down a little bit, because as much as I love it, I do feel like that section of the movie, you could kind of easily just get distracted and start doing something, which I felt like, because I had seen it so many times, I was kind of doing that while I was watching it today. Whereas the first half of the movie, I was really like focused on it. So, it's sort of like she gets in the accident, she doesn't show up, and he's bitter in his painting, but then she's got all this stuff, and you're just sort of like waiting for that end for them to finally come back together. So I think them just kind of condensing that storyline a little bit better. I don't really think it was as necessary to make it so drawn out, would have overall made it a better and easier movie to watch.
Okay. At least it wasn't somebody sitting in a chair while the seasons pass, like in... I'm not even going to say what movie that is. If you know, you know. Yolanda says, I think a cheesy one. The Catalina Caper saw it on Sunday, and it was so funny, cheesy 60s acting. And Mary says, oh, I know another movie for next month. She wore a yellow ribbon. Yes, please send us movie suggestions either on our social media or on the video when it goes live. I'm hoping eventually these comments that happen during the video will eventually show up in the comment section, but we lose a lot of these, which is so unfortunate. I know. Poor XX girly girl 69. Her comment is lost forever. But we love your suggestions. You really help us figure out what movies, because it's really hard sometimes. I think this month was actually the easiest movie we chose because we had been talking like we had never really had like a strictly like romance movie. So this was our first real romance. So we love hearing your guys' suggestions. JP says, remove the choir kids and I would be happy. American Graffiti. Ooh, I love American Graffiti. That's a really good movie. All right. So am I forgetting anything? I feel like I'm forgetting to say something. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. You are what make it incredibly fun to do these monthly movies. And we are getting a little better announcing the movies beforehand. We are constantly trying, thanks to JL, we got this out a few days beforehand because the holidays is just making it a crazy season. So we try our best to release the movie at least a week before movie night. And we do have goals and aspirations of someday being able to release it in this video for the next month, but baby steps.
We'll save that for the new year.
We'll see that. So we should be back next month. We haven't looked at dates, but it's usually the second or third Wednesday of every month. If you want to find us any other time, go ahead and check the description box below. You'll find links to all of our channels. You can follow us on all the social medias. You can find Heather everywhere as
How to Be Fancy.
And you can find JL as
Modern Retro Gal.
So come find us on all of our social medias. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Ooh! Yolanda says we need a Facebook Classy Chicks group page. That's actually a really good idea. It's a really good idea. Oh, Emily's little Wyatt says our movies are really good. Thanks, Wyatt.
Oh.
You're adorable is what you are. And she says she promises the league will be here next to regulate next time. Because happy place. It wasn't even that bad. I wish it was worse now because I feel like I've really built that comment up, right? So yeah, we will look at making a group page. We'll have to discuss that. But yeah, thanks for the suggestion. We always love hearing from you guys. We will see you guys all next month, and in between you can find us on our social medias. If we don't see you before that, have an incredibly great holiday season. If you celebrate or not. If you don't, I hope you just have some amazing time off, and I hope you guys have a great time, and we will see you. It'll be next year. Oh my God, it'll be 2017, which hopefully is going to be so much better on all our musical and actor legends, right?
Yeah, another person died today.
Who was it?
Oh, I can't remember what his name is. But he was an older actor. He hasn't been in anything in quite a while.
I know Alan Thicke died.
No, he died. It was my TV dad.
So sad. I hate it.
Can I hear a Betty Davis?
9 that died today. It was, yeah. I can't think of it. I only saw like one mention of it, so it wasn't anything that was earth-shattering, mass population.
Ooh. Yolanda says she can make our page if we want. That'd be great. We'd love it if you could do that. R&R Junkie says, can you make a Betty Davis from Jezebel hair tutorial? I don't know what that hair looks like. Can you actually, if you don't mind, put a picture of it up on the Vintage Vanity Facebook page, and I will see what I can do. JP says it was her? I'm going with him. I can only see a half face, and it's very tiny. It's his first time here, and he loved it. So if you're not a he, oh my God, oh, my social awkwardness is coming out now. Miss Bonnie Bailey says, "Happy Holidays 2017 brings new opportunities and Dungeons and Dragons." Yes, Miss Bonnie Bailey and I are starting a D&D group. She's going to DM for us. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for movie night.
Aw, yeah.
So, yay. All right, guys, have a wonderful time. Have a great night, and we will see you soon. We love you all so much. Have a great time. Is that Mr. Darcy?
Mr. Darcy. Hey,
Mr. Darcy.
He's playing. He's out of here. Bye.
He made an appearance. Bye.